welcome to the Astrology for the week commencing the 29th of December through to the 4th of January. My name is Gordon and I'm your host for the next 15 minutes or so, when we're going to be looking at the astrology signs from Aries through to Pisces. Thank you very much for joining me, and of course wishing you a happy new year. Now we have some quite interesting moves happening in the sky. We've got the Sun becoming conjunct or on top of Pluto. Now this is going to make us quite some transformational news, I feel, as we go through the week of the 29th and into the new year. So I don't think we're going to be short of news stories as we move into that week. But let's have a look, just tipping the surface of what it means for the individual astrology signs as we move through from and starting at Aries. Now this is for all Aries and all other sun signs in Aries, all rising signs in Aries, and also applies to moon signs in Aries, and the same goes through for all of the signs. So Aries, the main bit for you really, Aries, is your ruler is Mars, and Mars is playing sort of a bit of catch up, a bit of boxing if you like, with Jupiter, which is, you know, over in it's basically in your the 5th and the 11th house. Now Aries, this is quite an important week for you. You can use it to your advantage because Pluto is in your 10th house. The Sun is activating Pluto in the 10th house. Now Mars and Jupiter can be a little bit of a sideshow, so you may find that as you go through this week, this is a good week for making decisions. It's a good week for moving forward. If you want to get ahead of the game, if you want to really be directing where your energies need to be, this is the week to do it. You know, you're going to be on a bit of a mission, I feel, with Aries. Now, various things happening in your life. If you're finding that people are trying to pull you off to one side, that's the effect of Mars and Jupiter. So, you know, you maybe want to go in one direction and maybe get a phone call from someone saying, hey, do you think that's a really good idea? Well, don't bother so much sitting and pondering it, because Pluto is really making you move. It's making you go forward in strength, and Pluto is very much a planet that has very clear guidelines, likes things out in the open. So decisions that you have made and you want to put into action this week will be right for you, Aries, and you know it's going to be quite an important year for 2015. So the key thing here is to really go with your gut instinct. Everything is taking place in your 10th house, which is to do with the ambition, and it's to do with moving forward. So a great week for you, Aries. Let me move on to Taurus. Well, Taurus, you really are ruled, one of your rulers is Venus. You also have various other planets that can affect you, one of the main ones being Saturn, which has actually changed sign as we've moved just past Christmas. Now with you guys, Saturn has sort of moved from your 7th house and has moved into your 8th house, and this can have it's going to have a profound effect on you really as you move through 2015. But one of the main things with you, Venus, which is your ruling planet, is scooting forward and it's trying to make it into your 10th house, which is ruled by Aquarius. Now it's pursued, for want of a better word, by Mercury. So Taurians, if you're finding yourself in a situation where you've been waiting to maybe clarify a situation or clarify an area of your life before you move forward, waiting perhaps for some more information to come in, this is the week where it all starts to make sense, because up until now you would have been around an area of your life perhaps that hasn't had the full sun shone on it, for want of a better word. Now as you move forward and you certainly go into next week, quite important, because when Mercury catches up with your ruling planet, which is Venus, it forms a conjunction around the 7th of January. This really gives you all the information that you need to, I wouldn't say well I felt but I didn't know so, but it opens up a scenario for you that closes some doors, for want of a better word, and opens up others. So it enables you to go forward with clarity. Now, as we then move on to Gemini. Now again, Gemini, quite an important week for you, because again we refer to Saturn, but Saturn is actually moving out of a bit of a dormant house for you. It's coming out of the 6th house. Now, the last year, couple of years, potentially for a lot of Geminis, there's going to be a time when you've just been looking at the mundane. You've just been maybe toiling away at something, perhaps in the background, making ends meet, keeping things going. But as Saturn moves from your 6th house into your 7th, it sort of raises its head above the parapet. And I suppose the result, if you want, of this, because your planet is Mercury, and Mercury is just starting to see things as it really should. It's starting to come to clarity as we come again over the next couple of weeks. But really with Saturn, you're going to have a different 2015 than you had to 2014. And this week, you're quite a, first of all to say with Gemini, you can be a bit of a flighty, easygoing, don't like to push yourself too hard, generally, Geminis. But, when you're going to plan and you want to change something, that needs energy. And Saturn, just coming into your 7th house this week, comes into a little bit of conflict with Aries, and these are two planets that don't particularly get on. But it's not negative, in fact it's very, very much a positive, because I feel this week you start to see where you want to be in 2015, and you're going to want to change things. You're not going to want to have the same year as you had last year. You're going to want to make things open out, and you want to make things move for you. So plans that you've been thinking you want to bring into being. But you can't bring things into being unless you have quite a bit of energy, but that energy is normally sparked by obstructions. They say that adversity is the mother of invention, and I feel this is a bit of a tone for this week, because what you're going to be finding here, Gemini, is that where obstacles come in your way, it's going to make you much more determined, and it's going to make you much more focused to get what you want through as we move into 2015. And this is a week really of enlightenment for you, a bit of a road for Damascus. Cancer. Well, Cancer, again, you've got a lot of balls in the air, and again it's been quite an enlightening time for you, for want of a better word, for 2014. And this week really is no exception. Your 2nd house really does start to come alive during this week. Now, this 2nd house is all to do with your personal standing. It's to do with how people see you. It can also be to do with wealth, can be to do with money, but the 2nd and the 8th house really work quite well together. And again, you get this sort of Mars playoff, and this really points to just being a little bit more patient, because I do feel that you're waiting for results of something. Now, this generally I feel is around either money or work. But the main key here is Cancer. You're ruled by the moon, and at the moment the moon really isn't too prominent. It reaches its peak next week. So I want to say to you that where you're waiting on something, if you're a Cancerian there's a waiting news, especially around monetary or financial, don't have a knee-jerk reaction. Don't get too impatient, because your answers come more next week than they do this week. This is a week really of just sort of generally looking forward to next week is probably the word that I want to use for you. Now, Leo, interestingly enough, as you're probably aware, you've got Jupiter in your 1st house, and this is starting to go a little bit retrograde. But also this week, we've also got Venus, which just reaches your 7th house, and that is to do with relationships. Now, relationships with you, Leo, are quite important. You do like to know where you stand. You're not a sign that tends to be backward in coming forward. Now, the other activation that we've got here for you is also in your 5th house. Now, the 5th and the 7th are quite well connected, because the 5th can be to do with spontaneous relationships, so meeting somebody new, particularly great around this time, making new friendships, even finding lovers as well. And also this is going to tip into business, because the 5th and the 7th house relate to how you are seen by other people as your reflection, and the 5th can also be to do with being a bit of an entrepreneur, looking out and seeing what it is that you want. Now, when the 3 come together like this, the 1st, the 5th and the 7th, it's almost like you could be doing a little bit of firefighting. I don't feel this is going to be a week for you where it's going to be inactive. I feel it's going to be quite an active week, but it can almost be that as you put one piece down, another piece pops up. So a very optimistic, very refreshing week because it shows that energy is working with you. And it seems to come to a culmination around the following week, around about the 6th or 7th of January. And that's when I feel that the bits that you put in place this week really come to fruition in such a really lovely way. Now, Virgo. Again, Virgo, 2015 is going to be an expansive, wonderful, wonderful year for you. And as we look at what is going on with you, we find that your 4th house, which is your strength, actually becomes quite active during this week. Now, the thing is with you, Virgo, you do seem to have something on the boil. Now, leading up to this week, I do feel that you would have been putting more into situations, and this would be around relationships, it'll also be around work. Quite a few spheres of your life seem to be quite buoyant. But as we move into this week, which is really the week over the new year, so just starting of the new year, I feel that you can be quietly confident that all the work that you've put in up until now is going to slowly start to come to fruition. So this is not really a week for you when you can do too much, be too proactive. It's more of a sort of a reactive week, enjoying the spoils, enjoying what you have put in, because you know, as you go forward into 2014, it's going to be quite a decisive year for you, and it's going to bring lots of changes, and changes that are very, very positive because you've put in the groundwork. Now, Libra, dear Libra, things are really starting to improve for you. Now, we all know 2014 wasn't the best, it wasn't a bad year, but it wasn't really the best that you could have hoped for. They were mostly held up with delays, wanting to get things started, wanting to move things forward, getting a few false starts. Now, the good news for you, Leo, is as we go forward into this week, you know, Venus enters your 5th house. Now, that is really good because Venus is one of your rulers. Now, and this, I feel, actually marks quite a turning point. Marks quite a turning point for you, and it's a great time over the coming week for new relationships, business ideas, and you know, good expansion, because Pluto is in your 4th house, and that is being activated positively at the moment by the Sun. So this week is a positive week as far as Pluto is concerned. You're also seeing this positive or challenging and positive action coming out very firmly in your 7th house as well. So I feel a lot of Librans is a bit of a shakedown. It's a road to Damascus sort of week. It's a week of feeling good about yourselves. You could almost be in a similar situation to sort of Capricorns, in that Capricorns are going through this similar thing of saying, well, you know, I've been through quite a bit, but as I stand and look around at what could have happened if I hadn't made the changes, I can see how I've really benefited. And that is really clear with you this week, Libra. I do feel that you would have come out of situations, and although you may have taken a gamble when you've come out of those situations, you're now looking and saying, oh, I'm glad I made the move when I made the move. And this is a week that really brings it home. Scorpio. Well, Scorpio, the attention for, again, 2015, because we've had this major move with Saturn, and Saturn does affect you quite a lot. You're going to see a shift in energy. You're going to feel a lighter feel around you, certainly as we come into this week. But this is also a great week for, you know, blowing out the cobwebs, as I've got down here in my notes. With Pluto conjunct the Sun, and Pluto, remember, is your ruling planet. What does Pluto do? Pluto is a great truth seeker. It revels in getting rid of the old and in with the new. Can be quite ruthless, which can frighten some people. But one thing is for sure, it never packs an alternative punch, if that's the right word. It's always clear in its goals. It's always clear in what it is seeking. And it's a truth seeker, like a truth-seeking missile. Unlike Uranus, that is expansive and can provide surprises, Pluto is not so much about surprises. Pluto is more about the truth. And this is what this week is about for you, Scorpios. You know, and you've also got this Mars, which is your old traditional ruler, play off with Pluto. And this is really between your 4th and your 10th house, and also, as I said, your 3rd house comes alive here. So as far as business is concerned, as far as getting the result that you want, it's a fantastic week. If you've got any meetings, business-wise meetings, need to plan for any business meetings, you're going to be seeing things very, very clearly. Communications are going to be pretty clear, and as you move into the following week, they become even clearer still. So, you know, a fantastic week stroke 2 weeks coming up for you, really around business, around making decisions, around getting what it is that you need. That's the important thing, getting what it is that you need for 2015. Good old Sagittarius. Well, there's been ups and downs with Sagittarius. Again, Saturn is going to be expansive in your 1st house. It's going to be transformational in your 1st house. So that is the way that you are going to be seeing 2015. There's going to be major transformations, but you know, this is a time when you really can be at your strongest this week, and also at your most charming. Now, the other area that comes alive for you, Sagittarius, is your 2nd house, and the 2nd house is very much to do with money, wealth, how other people see you, your standing, what it is that you want. But you know, there is quite a lovely playoff this week in your houses, in that this is a week really for spending money. This is a week for spoiling and indulging yourself, because it's almost like you've earned it. And when we've looked over the last couple of weeks, and when we come into this week, if you're not spending money on yourself, if you're not treating yourself, then you're going to be doing yourself a misjustice, because this is long overdue with you, and what you've needed is a bit of a boost to say, yeah, I'm feeling important, and that's what this week is all about for you. Then we move on to Capricorn. Well, Capricorn, you have a lot happening. You have Pluto. Now, although it's not your ruler, it's quite a significant planet, as we discussed earlier, but we've also got, you know, the Sun in Pluto. The Sun is in Capricorn. Now, that is your energy. The Sun is you, and it's particularly well placed or dignified as we come into this week, as it enlightens Pluto. So this can see you being as probably being a bit of a centre of the attention this week, and I have to say, you will be enjoying it. It's a great week for clarity, particularly around money, but more important, around your gut feelings this week. It's a time when things seem to come together with you, and you seem to be at quite a peak. Again, you know, if you've been awaiting clarity on a situation, it will come bang right in the face. Great week for opportunities, possibly work offers, people coming into your life that are really going to make a difference to you, resurrection of old ideas in a practical sense. So maybe something where there's been a job opportunity that has been quiet, suddenly that person comes back on the scene and says, hey, look, do you know what, I've got a really positive thing here for you, it's going to make X number of pounds. That's the kind of week this is. It's not a week of surprises, because you're going to sort the week from the chaff, but you're going to be surprised how strong you are, and how I was going to say virile, but how strengthened you are this week with just life in general. But it's also a point where you seem to really be able to delve into situations and get the truth. So anybody trying to pull the wool over your eyes this week, forget it, because you go straight to the point. A real enlightened week, brilliant week for you, Capricorn. Aquarius. Now, Aquarians, you again have had a bit of a to and a fro and a to and a fro, certainly during this year. And this is there is a time rapidly approaching, really, where you're going to have to acknowledge and come to terms with and do something about a situation. Now, at the moment, you've got a lot of activity in your, what they call the 12th house, the house of secrets, the house of not repression isn't the right word, but it's a house where things tend to build up, where you will tend to think about things for a long time before you take action. And when you get a build up in that area, it's generally never very far away before action takes place. Now do bear in mind that Mars, which again doesn't sit too well in Aquarius, because you like to do things on your own terms, and Mars wants to do things very direct. So although it's not well placed there, what it does do is give you energy with anything that it touches. Now at this particular moment in time, you know, it's just, I want to say for a better word, caressing Jupiter. Now this is opportunity. This is you thinking, I can see a way through here. I got ideas, and these ideas need to be, you know, put into action. Saturn is another thing that's coming in very strong with you guys, and as you go through, certainly this week is the beginning of, but as you go through 2015, you know, there's a feeling of Saturn coming into your 11th house, and this is going to be all around your hopes. It's going to be around almost the subconscious, I want to say. It's going to give you the necessary aptitude to do something and bring about really positive change with you. Certainly as you go through 2015, 2016, that sort of time. But this week is a week where you'll be starting to feel a little bit up around things, Aquarius, because you'll start to see that there are other things than what have been taking your attention. So if you've been concentrating on work, or concentrating on a relationship, concentrating on something that needs a change, you can't see a way out, this is a week where it starts to provide a little bit of enlightenment around it. Pisces. Pisces. Activity with you this week is really around the 10th and the 11th and the second house. Second house is expect surprises with regard perhaps to earnings. So something that you thought hadn't or wasn't going to come to fruition has every chance, every opportunity this week to just suddenly leap in. So money coming from unexpected sources, from unexpected sides, and I see positivity there. I don't see negative. It's not. I don't sense necessarily money loss, although you can find that what comes in also just matches what comes out, what goes out. Important changes for you with Saturn. Now Saturn again is coming into your 10th house. Now this is the house of career, this is the house of ambition, and it's there to transform. So as we start to come into 2015, this new year, this week of new year, this should be marking the beginning of a transformation for you as far as the work area is concerned, the work arena, for want of a better word, is concerned. But you know, over the last few weeks I do feel money and work have been on your mind, but expect that as you come into this week, start looking at, start being aware of things around the work, where I feel certainly over the next couple of years will make quite a bit of a significant change for you. Okay, well thank you so much for listening, and don't forget, if you've liked the channel, please put in some likes, because it does create a bit of interaction with us all. And once again, if you wish to get in contact, please feel free, check out the website www.gordonrobertspiritmedium.co.uk. Now we did speak earlier about, on my last video, about doing updates for this year. Now as we go through this week, I'm aiming to do this for around Friday, so that's the 2nd, I believe, of January. There will be some updates for the year ahead, so looking from Aries through to Pisces, and just looking at the general trends. Now these are going to be grouped into separate videos for each of the star signs, but I'm looking forward to doing those, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you what 2015 holds. Thank you once again, and I wish you a happy new year, and speak to you next week.